Sometimes he doesn't get me.
Sometimes she doesn't get me.
When it's all said and done, the journey is ours to figure out.
But as we figure it out, there are facts and fiction that we can only learn by experience.
Our very own experiences, regardless of where they're coming from.
From statements like, men are driven by sex,
to comments like, your marriage will only last if you give your husband a son.
Tight.
When it's all said and done, what matters is whether you can identify what's fact.
Then what's fiction?
This is Ta.
I'm T. And this is the Married Now What podcast. The last time we talked about sex drive and how husbands need sex. Yeah, and you said that was fact. And I agreed with you. Now let's talk about sex parked. Parked. Sex parked. And
What does that mean?
Well, I was gonna go with it. Right?
Great.
Because if men are driven by sex, then the automatic assumption is that women are not driven by sex.
Why is that so?
What can I say? The basic impression that's been given about sex and it being something that's really something that people are keen on, it's more so said that males or men are keen on sex more than women. In essence, when it comes to being sex driven or needing sex, it's the men. Women, they don't really care for it. Or at least I've heard statements like, if I get a divorce or if my husband dies, I'll be okay with no sex. So I wanted us to start to talk about whether it's fact or fiction that your wife, you, hates sex.
But we're not talking about me, we're talking about women.
Women, yeah. So the statement is your wife hates sex and does it because she has to. Now, is that fact or fiction?
It depends.
Tell me more, girl.
In the previous discussion, I did bring up the societal expectation that women perform sex as a duty. So,
okay,
with that, it becomes a yes. So, I think this is one thing that depends on the circumstances.
So, it's a fact that women hate.
In that light.
Okay,
right.
In that context.
In a different setup,
yeah,
I would say fiction.
Okay.
Because of the term hate. Right. African, no, Africa is Zimbabwean. Not even Zimbabwean, sure not. Okay, some women in Africa, they're brought up to be ashamed of their bodies.
And just satisfy the needs of a man.
Yes, and not even to enjoy sex. Well, not even talk about sex.
Okay.
Not even enjoy sex, not even initiate sex.
Yeah.
Right. And so I feel like those are some of the reasons why it comes across as though women hate sex and they're just doing it just yet because. Right? And then I would like to suggest that women need sex. However,
okay. Wait.
However, no, the however is really important in this phrase. However, it doesn't rate on a priority rating. It doesn't rate as high as it would do for a man.
Okay.
Right? I don't know that. I mean, some women are frustrated because they haven't had sex in a long time. But I don't know that they're as frustrated as men.
When you say frustrated, what is that? What does that look like?
Just like, angry people. Some people that are just like angry and you can never figure out why.
Why are you so angry? You need sex.
Yeah, why are you so angry?
Oh, you're killing me right now. That's funny. Okay. So now I'm just going down the pecking order of people who are just so angry that I know. I'm like, yeah, okay. No, that one needs sex.
I mean, don't say that at work. You shouldn't think like that. Your mind needs to be sanctified.
No, it's not even work-based. It's life-based, You walk around, you see people, they're just having... You have people that you know that are having bad days every day, right? So that's where my mind went okay, I know that one needs sex, that one needs sex.
Yeah, and so I don't think that the frustration is as high. And in my head, a guy could go from very happy to frustrated in like a week.
Yeah.
But then for women, I feel like the time is longer.
Okay, so the
And that's the
frustration
difference.
it comes about further on. It's not one of those.
Exactly. I mean, I've heard of husbands who would want to have sex while their wife is breastfeeding, or and they don't care
really?
that the wife has a child attached to them.
Jeez.
Or
Ew.
they would be like, no, this child's gotta wait. And then for women in that situation, naturally, your priority becomes, let's feed this child,
Yeah.
get this child settled, and then
Maybe we can play.
let's see how things go. And so it's that, like, it doesn't rate as high. Is it hated? Absolutely not. However, there's so many however's in this.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. Yeah, I'm learning.
It is my opinion that sex is emotional for women.
Okay.
And so if the emotions are out of whack, or if there's something else going on, it naturally affects the need for sex.
Okay.
Right? If something is going on outside of the bedroom, if you guys are having a fight, it's highly unlikely that somebody wants to then go ahead and have sex with you. Or if they're stressed elsewhere and other things. And I think maybe the opposite is true for men.
Okay.
But how much they're impacted by stress is also different. It's to a lesser
Depends
extent.
on the person, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So for women, it's a whole lot of things. They have to be in a good space.
Emotionally, mentally.
Yes.
Okay.
In order to have
so
sex.
Both.
I think so.
Okay.
Which is why you have the trouble of people going to a no strings attached relationship. And usually women end up being the ones who develop strings.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
And for me, they're like, no, this was a no strings attached. It was, we were just friends, or we were just whatever.
Yeah.
And over time, women, because sex is tied to emotions for women, they end up falling. A lot of people set themselves up by going into these relationships, and then they end up falling.
And then, dealing with the consequences of that.
Okay, what are your thoughts?
Well, after hearing your teachings from a wife's perspective.
No, but what are your thoughts, regardless of what I think?
I'm trying to give you that. So, my general thoughts were in my immature stage. Let me rewind back to my immature mindset. My immature mindset was, we all like sex the same, right? So back in my day, if there's a sexual attraction, then surely she must feel the same way, right? But as I've grown up and gotten to understand, there are different ways in which sex becomes a factor or not between people, and how it's looked at by women versus men is different. It's very different. And I kind of started getting that when we got married, right? That in as much as I'm like, girl, I need it, right? You had your moments where you'd be like, no, not today, buddy, right? And there were times when I heard I got a headache.
No way.
Right?
And I don't think I use that excuse. I'm more honest. I'm tired, or I'm stressed.
I know it wasn't. It may not have been an excuse. Maybe legit, right?
I'll tell you, try tomorrow.
Right? Oh yeah, let's try it tomorrow. Or as I'm trying to initiate, you fall asleep, and
that tells you I'm really tired.
Right? And so in those experiences, it was one of those. Okay, I'm starting to get it. That we are wired differently, and even if I'm driven in that moment, it doesn't mean that my wife is at that moment too.
And sometimes the opposite is true. There are times when you run away.
I remember that. Right? And I get it. I think it was. I've come to that place where I'm like, no, you don't hate it. No, women, for the most part, don't hate it and this is just based off of my understanding of you. And when I say women, I'm speaking with regards to you because you're the only woman I know, right? And so it's one of those things that when I look at it, I'm like, I understand why, or at least I have to figure out why. What is it that's stressed out? What is it that's frustrating her? What is she thinking about, right? Because when you're in a chilled, happy, comfortable place, right, then there's room for us to have sex. But if you're not in that mindset, if you're not comfortable, if you're not at peace and all that stuff, then it's just a labored expression of emptiness. Do you know what I mean? It's not as intimate as it should be. It's not an experience that connects us. It's just me coming to take from you, as opposed to it being a give-give situation. So to say that wives, my wife hates sex and does it because she has to, not true. Granted, I know there are times that you may have sacrificed right, not fully feeling it or being tired, you know what I mean? But here comes tea, all giddy and excited and all that stuff, right? And you still express that love to me, right? But to say it's that's the case, that's fiction in my mind. So now, what is it that people need to understand for the most part, especially us as men, when it comes to women, and how to read, those situations where sex is actually parked and it's a not today situation?
I think, listen.
Okay.
Women, for the most part, tend to talk. And so there's a lot to get from listening to your wife. Be it during the day, they might tell you, I'm really tired, or I've been thinking about this. Like, you almost always have the answer if you're listening. In that sex is not something that starts in the bedroom when you're ready to go. And I think it was Transformation Church, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not Transformation. And they spoke on the different ways in which men and women are wired different. How sex for your wife is going to start hours before you actually end up indulging. Whoever it was a visiting pastor.
Yeah.
And so he spoke on that. And I think he did his sermon was something to do with gardening or something. I think the pastor did a great job on explaining that men can be a microwave. I think he actually said men were like a microwave. They just easily get heated, and in 2 minutes not even in 2 minutes, like men are always ready. Like you can just get ready.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And you could be ready to go. But for your wife, it's not necessarily the case.
No.
And so just having that understanding that sex is not going to start in the bedroom or whatever room you're going to have it in. You put in the work ahead of it.
Yeah.
It could be a day before, it could be hours before, it could be weeks before. But it's something that you build up on an ongoing basis. At the end of the day, I think, unfortunately, you give what you get what you put
give,
in.
Yeah.
And so it's always about trying to deposit on your partner's part, and then hopefully reaping something.
So true. You get what you give perspective. I have this thing that women are multipliers of things. So if I multiply negativity to you, I'm going to get it exponentially back. You know what I mean? And so the same applies to, the act of sex, right? Getting to that point, like you said, it's a process. But now, is there a risk in guys depositing into the sex bank account for the sake of just getting back, or is it something? Is that a normal thing to do, that you keep depositing into the account and then withdraw as and when needed?
I think so.
You think so? What?
The last part.
Yeah.
Do people do things and hope to get something out of it? Absolutely. Is it the best way to look at it? Maybe not. However, it's something that happens.
Yeah.
Right. Do you always get what you give? Sometimes not, unfortunately. But, if you're working at your relationship, obviously, you reap the results from
what you put in.
From that work.
So what should people who are about to get married or who have just gotten married understand about sex being parked? Because I understand that there are telltale signs that not today, right? Maybe some other time. But at the same time, there are also days when, there are some women out there, right? In my mind, or at least as far as I can assume, that don't initiate sex, right? They may want it, but they don't initiate it, and it's a difficult read for the guy. What needs to happen in that kind of relationship from the woman's perspective to communicate that sex is not parked right now, we actually are driving here, let's do it?
I think it's something that people need to talk about. It's something that I assume is not discussed at the level that it should be.
Okay.
Because I remember when we were first married, you...
Lay it out, baby. Let him in. Tell him. Tell him how nuts I was.
Yeah, I think you're a little bit too much. You're a little bit extra. And you were so serious about sex.
Yeah.
And it was something... I don't even know if you were... To say you were too serious is an understatement.
Let's put it this way. I was very religious and warped in the sense that you know what how you explain that the church doesn't talk about it? That I was like, we have to do sex in a proper way, as opposed to it being, hey,
and not talking about it too. Yeah. And so when I did pass a comment or say something, you would be like, that is not right. You shouldn't be talking about this. And I'll say, no, let's talk about this. Let's laugh about this. Let's laugh about this thing. Or did you see when this happened? Oh, that was funny. Or this isn't so funny. Or what do you think about this?
Yeah.
Or like I had questions like, what are your thoughts on this? Are you okay with ABC or no? And you'd be like, no,
this is not proper.
This is not what married people do.
Yes, I was very religious.
Right? She's like, no, I don't think my wife should.
It was as though I was a man of the cloth, huh?
I don't even know if men of the cloth are like that. I see them with so many kids, men of the cloth.
Yeah. They got like 5 kids, Yeah, no, fair enough. Men of the cloth are getting it in.
Yeah, so you were so uptight.
Yeah.
And it made it uncomfortable. It felt sort of mechanical.
Yeah. Kind of like when we thought we could make a baby.
No, that was different.
That was desperation.
Yeah, let's not even go there. Yeah, that was just no.
That's for another episode.
Yes.
So yeah, no, but like for real though, when it comes to trying to initiate or trying to say, hey, you know what's up?
That's what I think.
What can women? So what kind of communication can be done there, right?
I think just to communicate as a couple, right?
To talk about it.
Talk about it, and the guy could say,
I want some. But what the guy?
No, I don't believe you just said that. Oh, I hate this person. No, but I think it does something to a guy's ego for your wife to be the one who initiates the process. I think it does.
Okay, in a good way or bad way?
Good, just to know that your wife still desires you just the way you are.
I'm with you there,
right?
Yeah.
And so I think if a guy could communicate that to the wife, right? Like, I would appreciate it if you'd initiate some days, not every day, not every year, but
just let me know.
It would be nice.
You still want me.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So I think if couples would communicate honestly and just...
So that's even something that could
there.
be exercised at the honeymoon stage, right? So that as they mature in their relationship, it becomes something that comes naturally to them. So now how do you communicate that, Maya, not today.
That's also something that people should talk about,
Yeah.
right? And then as people go and they learn, they just know.
Because the hardest thing for a man to receive, right? And we've experienced this, is when you're not, when you got a headache, when you're not well, right? Really, really not well, and I don't know, and I try to initiate, and you say, no, I'm not well, I've got a headache, and it spans over a long period of time, right? It's like ego killing, like you were talking about ego, right? It's the complete opposite of wife trying to initiate or initiating and how that feels. What can be done to soften that blow? Because obviously dude is getting frustrated. He's trying to initiate, but for the past 2 weeks wife has been saying
Yeah, but then you're making it sound like initiation is at the point of wanting to immediately have sex, which is what I was saying, that
initiation
sex
starts
way before that. I think it must be called Chip. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Chip Ingram.
And he does marriage series.
Yeah.
And he said for some women, sex starts when the husband vacuums the floors. Right? And I think he was talking about communication too when he covered that. And so for that person, I'd actually say that's not even initiation. That's just now probably so technical. I need a release and I'm going to start now. Especially if your wife is sick. Have you helped out around the house?
Yeah.
Have you checked in on her to see how she's doing during the day, how you're feeling, how things going? Because if it's 2 weeks, by that point you should know that she's not well.
Not right.
And you should have known during the day, like during the course of her day or your day, that she's still not well.
What if she's well, but she's still saying?
Then there's something more.
There's something more that needs to be addressed, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's for another. But still, sex is parked, right? So it's for them to communicate. So I guess when it's all said and done, sex is a form of communication, and if it's not happening, there's something in the communication that needs to be worked on. But the bias that women aren't keen on sex is untrue, right?
It's a bias.
It's a bias. Are they times when you're like, do you know what I mean?
No. I don't know what you mean. Because you just said whole lot of nothing. I said times when you're like,
no.
What does that mean?
Today I want some.
Are there times when women are like that?
Yeah.
I think so.
Because there's the whole chocolate talk, right? I gotta eat chocolate.
Chocolate.
I gotta eat chocolate, and how chocolate is the best substitute.
What women are you playing with?
I don't play with women. I have one. That is you. But you see it on TV shows. You hear discussions in different places about chocolates being the best substitute. I guess what I'm trying to ask is, are there times when a woman is thinking like a man in the sense that I need to have sex?
I don't know, but going back to TV, thanks to TV.
Yeah, TV kind of paints the wrong picture anyway. But
yeah, but going back to TV, because that's a good example. In movies, there are times when you can see women planning.
Okay.
Be it the environment or how they look and things like that, right?
Lingerie, dinner,
exactly, and just that whole
candlelight.
setup.
Yeah.
And I guess for women, they're more, I don't know if they're at an advantage, like there's more ways for them to show that
they're ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
As opposed to men, I don't know if that's a correct thing to say.
Yeah, because like I'm with you there, because as a man, I could have a candlelight dinner set up. Right, you come home from work. You've had a long day. You're tired. Set it up. We sit. We eat. We talk. But you're exhausted. You go to bed. You KO.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm thinking it's gonna be great.
But it's still great. We had dinner by candlelight.
But it comes back to the whole depositing into the sex account, right?
Exactly.
But the mindset is, I'm depositing right now for withdrawal right now.
Until you're initiating too late.
Whereas for a woman, on the other hand, you can. Is it too late to be initiating the same way? Probably not.
Because it's
I guess the way men are wired, right?
The sexes are wired.
Interesting. Well, we've talked about sex talk, babe. Any parting words for our listeners?
Not this time.
Not this time? My parting words are communicate. Even if you have to, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say even if you have to schedule sex, but maybe not because it becomes too mechanical, right?
Some people say they do. I don't know.
But maybe if you schedule time to enjoy each other's company and see where that goes, that's a different story, right? But yeah, communication is key. Sex is a form of communication.
I've heard people schedule. I've had somebody actually say, my wife just told me there'll be sex in this house at 7 o'clock on Tuesday with or without you. And I'm like, oh, okay. No, I've actually heard that statement now by just saying it. And
I guess it works for them.
I don't know how that works. So
I guess it works for them. Well, I mean, because the guys can go from 0 to 100 like that. It would be hilarious if it's one of those in the month of October on Tuesday at 7 p.m. and then the following week on the Wednesday at 6 p.m. right? To plan a whole month out, it's kind of weird.
This one is just like, I think Tuesdays at 7 every Tuesday.
It's a 7. Okay, so maybe it's just something that works for them. It's an agreed upon thing.
And I have no information, so
you just come ready 7 o'clock on Tuesday.
Yeah, but they're still married, so it must be working.
It must be working. Yeah, but I guess the communication part is the key. To talk about it is the way to bring it around.
Thank you.
You are awesome.
As are you.
Did I say you look cute today?
Oh, thank you.
I'm depositing to the account.
And that's what I was thinking. Here we go.
Yeah. No, for real though, let's have this discussion about, sex being parked. It is a bias that women hate sex. But if that's the case, women out there who hate sex and are just doing it because you have to. Let's talk about why you have to. I think there's an important discussion there that needs to be had that will help many others who may feel the same way. This is Married Now What? This one is
Tatenda.
And I am Tinashe. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for the next one. It's coming real soon. Take it easy, guys.